Welcome to the first show of the Somerset Roundtable. My name is Virgil Pacheco. I'd like to introduce my co-host, Betty Pont, and our guest, Todd Casilli. The intent of this show is to inform, communicate, and highlight all things Somerset. In the upcoming weeks, we will be inviting multiple guests from town department heads to local charities, business owners, and nonprofits. And with that, I'd like to hand it off to Betty and tell us a little bit about you.
Thanks, Virgil. Hi, my name is Betty Pont, and I've lived in Somerset nearly all my life. I grew up in the house that Montauk originally had built for its manager on Desmond Avenue between the plant and the Somerset Lodge. Long history. After college, my husband and I returned to Somerset to raise our family, and I've been here ever since. Our two daughters received a very strong foundation that has served them both very well, as they are both successful professional women. They benefited from the educational, athletic, social, and team programs which were sponsored and supported by this town. I am pleased, very pleased, that my two grandchildren are now living in Somerset and will also acquire that same strong foundation. If my face and name are familiar to you, it will have something to do with the fact that we've probably met in school. For I had the privilege of working as a health educator for 20 years for the Somerset Public Schools before moving into the office as assistant principal and then principal. I spent 32 years at the middle school level and 4 at the elementary level. It was a career that I look back on fondly for the people that I met, for the children and the parents that I was able to help and work with, for the staff. It brought me in contact with citizens who have many of the same values that I have for our town, for our children, and for its future. It's that initiative, it's that commitment to our children and to our citizens that brings me to this initiative, to this program. There will always be things that people can be critical of, but that voice is very important to our democratic process. But there are so many more things that we can be proud of, and that is why I chose to be involved in this roundtable. Speech that is destructive in nature tends to be negative, disparaging, damaging, and unhelpful, while speech that is constructive tends to be positive, useful, practical, and productive. And isn't that what we want for our town? For that reason, this program will be highlighting programs, departments, and initiatives that the town is planning for all of its citizens. It's the intention of this program to inform you of the activities that are going on in Somerset and to hear from some of the individuals that lead them. Representatives from many of the veterans groups, department heads, school and recreation department officials, council on aging will be invited to appear and to shed light on what they are doing to bring Somerset into the future through their activities of today. Somerset, like so many other towns, is facing the dilemma of doing more with less. In order to develop those ideas and initiatives that will address this state of affairs while still moving Somerset forward requires a deeper understanding of where we currently are. Only then can we assess the direction that is best for our town. As citizens, we have the responsibility to our children, our grandchildren, and to each other as we take an active role in helping to design that path to success. Financial, programmatic, and strategic. We can choose to be part of the solution, or we can be part of the problem. Which are you? For those who are seeking more direction and information, this program is your best first step. I look forward to working with Virgil and meeting with you weekly and with our guests as we work together in the name of our town that we all love. In the meantime, be well. Virgil?
Well, I'm glad that you brought up the positive aspect. One of the things that we wanted to definitely bring forward was that this show is a little bit of a spin-off of the Positively Somerset Facebook page. A lot of good was created with that page, and now we'd like to kind of expand that to the community and allow some of the businesses and some of the nonprofits and even town leaders to come forward and discuss some of the topics that we have and some of the issues that they're concerned with. And essentially, the show will give the community a voice in their process moving forward. So I will just kind of give you a little bit of my background, probably not as detailed as Betty's, but I'm somewhat of a lifelong resident of the town. I moved here when I was 13, outside of about a year when I got married, moved back about 23 years ago, built a house, married, have a daughter that's in the junior high school, so I do benefit or enjoy seeing the benefits that the town has offered me in extending it to my child. I have a degree in architecture, so I'm very familiar with some of the challenges that the town is facing with economic development and other items. And for the last 20 years, I've actually worked as a construction manager. So I do have a very strong tie to the community and the uphill battle that we have in trying to develop some of the parcels of land and bring in some economic development and ultimately help the community. With that said, I think we'll hand this off to Todd as our guest. Maybe you want to introduce yourself and a little bit of your background.
Sure. It's not nearly as distinguished as you guys, but I'll do my best to fit in here. My name's Todd Casilli. I was born at Truesdale Hospital in 1973, October 6th, Libra. Okay. And I grew up in Somerset, graduated in 1992 from Somerset High School, and then transitioned on to Springfield College and graduated in 1996 there. Lived in the town, played sports in the town, and out of college I ended up joining a rock and roll band called Bob's Day Off. I played in that band for 17 years, and it was a great career. I met a lot of great people, learned a lot of great valuable business lessons in that endeavor. And then moving forward from there, I ended up teaching GED at a program called Youth Build. I did that for 4.5 years, and then landed into a career in financial services during the Great Recession. I got in when it was the worst time possible to get in, and survived, right? And I've been doing that now 10 years. I'm a vice president, a regional vice president with Primerica Financial Services, serving middle-class families, and it's been a great honor to have had the career that I've had, and the family that I have, my mom and dad. If you're watching, I love you. Good to see you. And hopefully I make you proud.
Great. So I think the topic that we've all kind of focused on today is kind of, the Renaissance, the reinventing. We're at that crucial crossroad of, the old Somerset and the new Somerset. And, with the financial, constraints that we have, there's a lot of items that we need to start thinking out of the box. The crazy ideas and seeing how we can move those forward. And, I talking to you, Todd, last week and realizing that you were probably one of the first people that, kind of brought a little bit of a renaissance into the town by, engaging some of the business owners and developing the concert in the park. Mm-hmm. Want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, as I said, I was in the rock and roll band for years, and one of the things that I've seen in other communities is that they've had a lot of family events revolving around bands playing locally, out in like either a theater in the park or a gazebo. And I'd actually done other shows for other towns, the town of Dartmouth down in Padenham. They would celebrate the waterfront down there, a beautiful area, great park, right on the water. And I had the idea of, well, why not bring that to Somerset? It's a great town. It's a music town. We've been involved in music with our band and had a lot of notoriety, especially when I was growing up. And I just, even the bands of today are getting national acclaim as well. And it just seemed as though it was a really good fit for the town. It was a great event. Families could go out there and celebrate the outside and have something to do that was, free, that didn't cost a family anything. And when you're a family of 4, or a family of 5, a family of even 2, 3, it's expensive to do things with your kids, and it's expensive. So I had the idea of, well, why not bring something that, you know, could add value to the town. So when we approached that idea, I talked to Frank Dorsey. I was directed to Frank at the time, and Frank had told me that there were, you know, budget constraints. It would be really difficult, but maybe he could talk to the highway department to donate a trailer so the bands could play. I contacted a company that provided lights out of Berkeley, Mass, and we started to piece together what the cost would be. And obviously you had to pay these bands as well, because equipment costs money and time costs money. And so we ended up identifying what the project would cost, and obviously the town didn't have it. You know, it wasn't something that was factored into a budget. So one of the things that I offered to do, and you know, I learned to do it through what I had done in the past in my professional career, is just to learn how to talk to people and get on board with maybe funding projects or coming up with money that didn't exist in the budget for our band, and had people, you know, have residual benefit from doing so. And it was a reciprocal kind of relationship between the band and these other businesses that we were affiliated with. And I said, well, why not do that for the town?
What kind of response did you get when you first went to these business owners? This had never been done before.
I mean, people were open. I think it's all in your presentation, and I think when people know why they're doing something, they're more apt to want to help. You know, if I feel like when people have a sense of purpose and they know that they're contributing to something good and that they can believe in, it's an easy thing to get people to get on board with. But if you go in there, you know, not with the right intent, I mean, it was sold just the way it was sold. It was for families. It was, you know, it's ironic that we set up this summer concert series in Somerset, and I went to one of them with my now wife, and I proposed to her at that. You know, it was kind of cool. You know, that created a memory for me, right? So, you know, we went to different businesses, whether it was Comcast, Gladding Hearn, local businesses. Sorms made the banners. You know, I think Delta Graphics. I can't remember. Sorry, man. I'm just lost for the name of the company, but they did all the banners for these companies. So in companies, they had packages. If a company donated $1,000, they got the biggest banner, obviously, and it stayed on the fence over at Pottersville School for the entire summer for the length of the concert series. And there were many companies that, you know, did smaller. Everything helped. Smaller banners with smaller donations, and it really, really helped raise that money that was needed. Then I would contact the bands and book the bands, and then I would sell them on, hey, I know that you usually play for $1,000 a night. Well, the budget doesn't hold that, but this is an off night. This would be a night you don't have a show anyway, and it would be really great for this community to have, and you know, you might gain some new fans out of it. So everything was a reciprocal process where, you know, the bands would kind of give a discount to the town. The town, you know, gave some publicity to these local businesses. These local businesses felt like they were really contributing to something positive, and they got some exposure as well. And these bands ended up reaching fans that normally they wouldn't have exposure to. And it was just one of these things where I felt like every hand was washing the other hand. It was multiple hands getting together, working together, and creating this really great event. And I mean, weather permitting, you know, you'd have 200 people out there. You'd have 250 people out there in the field at Pottersville School, which the field's really, I mean, I went to school there. I was Pottersville Panther before they went to the Pottersville Penguins. Panthers were tough, right?
Yes.
And right, so we had that event really consistently every week. You know, someone different was out there, and it was all quality entertainment. It wasn't like, hey, I got a nephew who's 14, starting a garage band, you know, you sure you can get him to play? Like, respectfully, you know, we put good product up on that stage at a really fair value, and it didn't cost the town anything, or if it did, it was real minimal infrastructure cost. You know, and we were really fortunate. I remember one time we even had an electricity problem, and there was a couple that lived right behind the stage, and I went to their house and I took up a collection, and we used their electricity to power the show. And everybody in the audience gave money in a hat, and I think we raised like $78 for them. And they were the most grateful people on the planet. You know,
just don't ever know where your next perk will come from.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and so
be open.
You know,
be open.
It's really one of those things where when, you know, I think one thing that I've known about anything that requires change is a lot of times change is only, you know, born from necessity. Things have to change. People only start exercising when they have a heart attack, or people, only go to marriage counseling when their marriage is really starting to falter, and somebody, separates and goes to the parent house or something and sleeps on their couch. That's really, and I, talking with people in the town is in a crisis, and I think it's real easy for people to reinvent themselves if they choose to. The same way it's real easy for this town to reinvent itself if it chooses to. And it's going to take a lot of work and collaboration, but it's possible.
Well, it's kind of funny. You've hit three topics that I was going to discuss. With Renaissance reinventing, there's three hurdles: money, acceptance, and collaboration. Right. Sometimes we focus too much on the budget and the line items and the financial problems in town, but we kind of forget about the big picture, right? So you having a concert series at Pottersville opens up a variety of different opportunities. Local businesses, coffee shops, food trucks, could have been collaborated into that and basically help the little, small mom and pop businesses in town, as well as providing free entertainment.
Yep.
I think that's
Absolutely.
the biggest, most important thing.
And Renaissance is going to be a recurring theme with this roundtable, because a Renaissance does not mean to destroy what you have, but rather to buff up and to shine and to improve on what already exists. You take the core, which is strong, and then you build upon it based on the circumstances of the day, whether we're talking about Florence in the 1400s or Somerset in the the 21st century. Renaissance takes many forms, and you're using in your examples of collaboration. It can't be done alone. It can't be done in a vacuum, and it can't be done in isolation. The other thing I wanted to add is that don't forget who benefits, and you brought that out, Todd. The families who are able to benefit from the collaboration, the citizens, and that's why we're here. That's what we're all about.
And collaboration sparks community, and we all know we've born in town, we've lived in town. I plan to retire in town, and it basically is that small knit community feeling that that's the reason why I moved back. When I got married, I always use a couple of examples, right? And you kind of hit on them earlier. Is you have to spend money to make money, right? So you went out and basically, took the time of getting donations and whatnot. And sometimes we lose track of the fact that, anything you want to sell, anything you want to build, anything you want to buy, sometimes takes that a little bit of investment up front. And, I just hope, throughout these next few weeks, we can start to bring in some different guests that kind of can accentuate, the fact that there is a lot of possibility in town. The thought of bringing it back to Pottersville from PS Beach, I think, offers us a lot of opportunities. Food events. We should be having some fairs. That's a perfect opportunity in a large field that we can, and it's centrally located, so it's visible to everyone coming through town.
Sure.
I think it's great.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different areas of town that I feel as though would offer and lend, from an aesthetic point of view, a different feel, or maybe just even from a location point of view, maybe more access to the town. You look at what the old Brightman Street Bridge area, like that, to me, that's a great area. There's tons of parking down there. It's not really highly used as far as traffic, but there's a lot of visibility. There's from 79, from the new bridge, from Fall River, people can see something happening, and it's almost like a town pier. Almost something that didn't exist before. Now it's like you can either look at it as it's a dead zone in town, or it's something that can create vitality in town. And I think the Summer Concert Series was great. I really do. I believe it was a great thing to do. But that's all internal consumption. For a town to really thrive and to grow, you've got to be attractable to outside people that want to come in and experience this town. They need to experience this town. And they're gonna get to feel an energy from it. They're gonna feel something from it that really can create more commerce, more synergy to other communities. And then there's other events that the town can partner up with other communities that are doing certain things too, and cross-pollinate. And that's really what the town needs. It just, for a long time, this town felt it was it was like an isolated entity. We had our own tax base, we had our own school system, but at this point now, the economy and the world is global, okay? And when you're talking, within the state, you have to have, a lot of sharing of ideas and having people come from all over the state, even Rhode Island. So stone's throw away from Rhode Island, we really can maybe generate revenue through this town and really make it more viable for commerce, and more businesses are going to want to set up shop here. But it really starts with thinking outside the box. I think people that, leaders they adapt to change. People that aren't leading, they resist change. And I think the real key is to find the right core group of leaders that are willing to kind of just really be open to expansive ideas, and they have to change with the time. My cell phone has more technology in it than the Apollo 13 had. That blows me away.
It's true.
And but if you told me in 1992 when I graduated from high school that I'd own a device that was more complex than the Apollo 13, I would have laughed in your face, right? Because I had no frame of reference. Right. Even though maybe the government had that kind of technology, it wasn't available to consumers. Well, now this town, the end user has to be the one that makes this town vibrant again. You can't rely on old industry and old habits to create new growth. You got to find ways to create new growth. And there's a lot of communities doing it. There's a lot of different towns and cities that have had, systemic problems way before Somerset has. Aged out mining towns, manufacturing towns that have really now started to find solutions and facilitate growth. And I really believe that this town has a huge wealth of resources and talented people and a good volunteer core base, and they could do some incredible things if everybody worked together.
Well, it's funny you say that, right? Because 3 locations come to mind: Providence, New Bedford, and Salem. Salem a few years ago was basically on the verge of bankruptcy. They took a step back. They reinvented themselves. They created different industry. They beefed up their tourism industry, and now they're thriving. It's just a great location to live, work, and play. New Bedford's doing the same. New Bedford has created, an extensive waterfront with some restaurants, a lot of community events, the Chowder Fest and stuff. And I think, we have those same qualities in certain parts of town down by the waterfront. And I absolutely love your idea of the whole waterfront created by the new bridge. That new bridge kind of essentially created a jewel in the town. That could just be Restaurant Row. It could be a small amphitheater for outside entertainment. It's secluded from the residential districts. We could incorporate some of the Slade's Ferry Avenue into that. And create just a whole mecca of entertainment that basically feeds from other communities. With the whole, meal tax that we have now, we welcome, other communities to come in and basically help our financial constraints.
And this is 3 of us, 3 individuals, talking among ourselves about the talent and the possibilities and the opportunities. We have an entire town of talented people, individuals who are committed to the town. And by having them come in and sharing our ideas with them and having them share their ideas with us, nowhere to go but up.
And that's a perfect ending to our show. As we originally stated, the mission is to basically tell all about Somerset. And we have kind of, I guess, a little kind of motto, I guess, is, we would like this to be the voice of Somerset. And that's the reason why we will welcome any type of business owner, nonprofits, town department heads. We'd love to have, local Little League and softball leagues come in. There's a new flag football league starting out. This would be a great opportunity to come out, tell us what they're all about, and hopefully continue this conversation, much more. And I think the whole Renaissance theme is going to carry on for a little while now. I think we've got things started. So
thanks, Todd. I'd
like to thank you, Todd, for joining us, and thank you, Betty, for co-hosting with us. And thank you, everyone. For more information, you can visit our website at somersetroundtable.com, or you can email us at info@somersetroundtable. And thank you.